Okay, what's up, everybody? So on tonight's call, it's a very, very specific call. We're going to be talking about how to best optimize next week's Celebration Live. Next week's Celebration Live. How to optimize next week's Celebration Live. So typically speaking, when it comes to an actual in-person event, we always do a prep call to kind of pay forward our best practices so you can really be fully present and engaged at the event. And obviously this is the first time where we're doing it in a virtual capacity, but we still felt like, hey, you know what? Let's do our best to provide you guys with some things that we think will be of maximum benefit so that you can really plug in and really absorb everything that transpires. So type in the chat box, how many of you are excited to attend Celebration Live starting on Friday the 17th and continuing on through Saturday? Just type in the chat box how many of you guys are fired up, because there's a lot to be excited about, and there's a lot of amazing things that are happening in this company right now, and the timing of where we are in terms of the history of the company and everything that this company is bringing forward is really, really remarkable. And it really, we're really uniquely positioned as a company. And I really want you guys to get that. When you look at, and I talk a lot about this on the Pivot on Purpose webinars, when you look at the reality of what's transpiring in the wellness space, when you look at what's transpiring in the economic space, we really are just so remarkably positioned. So I'm just going to go through a couple of best practices. This call won't be too long. If you guys have any questions as you go, please feel free to light up the chat box. I'll answer as many questions as I can. For the specific details of the time and all that, you can go to isagenixevents.com, but just loosely as a heads up, the event kicks off on Friday evening at 7 o'clock Eastern. It starts at 7 o'clock Eastern. That's good, right? It starts at 7 o'clock Eastern and goes to 10 o'clock Eastern. So that's 4 o'clock Pacific through 7 o'clock Pacific. And then again, it starts the next day, starting at noon Eastern through 3 o'clock Eastern. Those are all general session times. And then after general session, starting at 4 o'clock Eastern, so you have a 1 hour break, are the breakout sessions where you can choose which trainer you want to go and learn from on any given number of topics. And then at 8 o'clock Eastern to 10 o'clock Eastern are the Gala Awards. Gala or Gala? I have never know. Gala or Gala? I'm really never sure about that one. Never sure. So again, with that in mind, a couple of best practices. Okay, so again, feel free to answer. It's either one, either or. Okay, cool. Either one. We'll just go with either one. Great. Okay. So here is the first one. These are in no particular order. So just take them as you will. First and foremost, clear your schedule, right? So the same way as if you were attending a live event, if this were actually happening in Salt Lake City, you would clear your schedule. You would let your employers know, your family members know, your friends know. You'd say, hey, look, I'm going to be at an event for the next day and a half or 2 days. I'm not going to be available. I'll be returning all messages, emails, things of that nature on Monday or whatever it is. So first things first, clear your schedule and really treat this. Another way of looking at it is like this. Obviously, we don't work for Isagenix. We're not employed by the company. We're all our own business owners, which is one of the things I love most about network marketing because, as you all know, I'm psychologically unemployable. But sometimes we have to put on the employee mindset so we can be more effective when it comes to building our business. And so the mindset I kind of want you to embrace, and this is up to you totally if you're open to it, the mindset I would recommend is imagine that this is a required day and a half of continuing education from your primary job. Okay, so your job says, hey, from Friday at 7 Eastern until through Saturday evening, you're going to be at a virtual seminar for continuing education. It's part of your job responsibility. Type in the chat box how many of you would move things around. Just type in the chat box how many of you would move things around so that you could be fully present to attend that quote unquote job mandated experience, right? Everybody would, non-negotiably. So remembering that in network marketing, you are your own best employee. So treat yourself accordingly in terms of making whatever those arrangements are. Now, As you all know, of course, Eden and I don't have children, so I have a ton of compassion for those of you that do have kids in terms of this current season when it comes to taking care of kids or finding things for them to do, or maybe you can have a sitter that comes. I don't know. I'll leave that to you. Obviously, there are some things that you're going to get to negotiate around. Maybe you can involve your kids in some capacity, have them watch some parts with you if you think that they might be excited by it, if they're old enough to have some of the experience. Other than that, maybe you can just order some extra sleep spray, you know, and just give them a couple extra shots of sleep spray, and that can solve the problem as well, right? Brandy, just a couple extra shots of sleep spray for the kids, and then they'll go to bed. No big deal. Okay, so first and foremost, again, clear your schedule. Okay, the next thing is do your, Clint is on board, he's laughing. Do your best to put yourself in an environment where you won't be interrupted. Now, I also want you to be able to be in an environment where you can be comfortable and really be attentive and pay attention, but also a place where it's really well known, like, hey, this is my area, this is where I'm gonna be, this is really my office. It's almost as if you have an on-air sign that you've put on the outside of the door so people know not to disturb you, not to interrupt you. The next thing is this. This is a tough one, but I highly recommend it. And I have this at all times, no matter what's going on. I really encourage you to turn off all notifications on your phone. So turn off your text message notification, turn off your Facebook notification, turn off your IG notification, anything that's going to cause a red bubble to pop up on your screen and distract you. I'd highly recommend you turning those things off. Again, with the idea being 100% focused. Now, one thing that you might want to consider doing just to make it even easier is just put your phone on airplane mode. Remembering that when it comes to photos or Instagram stories or Facebook stories, you can actually record those while on airplane mode. And as soon as you get back on Wi-Fi or whatever, it's going to upload again. So just the idea being, how present can I be, right? How can I put myself in an environment to be as focused as possible? What can I do? What steps can I take to set myself up for success? And I've been thinking a lot about that, and I talk a lot about that. Maybe I just talk to myself about it, but I talk to myself plenty, so that's fine. But setting yourself up for success is one of the biggest things that separates people from winning versus losing. It's really about the environments that we put ourselves into, the small choices that we make. It's the accountable version of being proactive, right? About being proactive to set ourselves up to win. So again, having those notifications off will be, I think, massively valuable for you. The next thing, taking notes. Now, I know that we are so accustomed, we're so accustomed to doing everything on our phones, but did you know that you retain information, you retain more information when you actually write notes down on paper? So I really encourage you to have a journal ready, or have a yellow pad ready, or however you prefer to take notes, have that notepad ready to go. And again, speaking of setting yourself up for success, have more than one pen available, right? Have more than one pen, have your highlighters ready so you don't have to get up and go out of the room or do anything along those lines. Also, set up your environment as though you were watching the Super Bowl or a sporting event or any other sporting event. What would you have in the room? You'd already have bottles of water. You'd already have your snacks. You'd already have your shakes ready to go, right? So everything that you can do, right? Everything that you can do to create a great environment, I'm going to encourage you to do those things. Okay, I'm going to encourage you to do those things. Now, in terms of taking notes, one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people make is they try and write down every single thing that they hear every single speaker say. It's highly ineffective. It's just highly ineffective. My strong recommendation is look for two things when you're taking notes. One, what can I implement today? And two, what can I teach my team? One, what can I implement today? Two, what can I teach my team? Now, when it comes to what can I implement today, this is where we also have to be really careful. And what I mean by that is you're going to hear phenomenal training from some excellent speakers. And it's really important that you don't just take everything you hear as gospel. It's really important that you don't hear what one person is doing, right? What one person is doing and just assume, great, I'm going to go do all of that now. Because what happens is you might have things that are working. And remember, one of the things that we're really passionate about is keeping things fundamentally solid and focusing on the basics all the time and really utilizing the system. And oftentimes what I'll see people do, they'll go to an event, they'll hear an idea, they'll want to run with it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks later, they don't understand why all of a sudden their business isn't doing what it was before. And it's because we adopt things that we hear without taking a step back, processing it, speaking with our partners about it, identifying and evaluating how might it fit into what I do. Because remember, you're talking about people that have made, several millions of dollars or multiple 6 figures in this industry. And it's never just that one thing. These are brilliant people who have designed systems around whatever it is that they're doing. So remember that some of these speakers might have 10, 20, or 30 minutes in front of you. That's not enough time, I promise you, because I'm one of them. It's not enough time to really break down everything that goes into one single function being wildly effective. Type in the chat box so you guys, if you guys are picking up what I'm laying down when it comes to that, it's really important that you guys get that one, because I see it event after event, year after year. And I promise you, no matter how often we do this prep call, live event or otherwise, it happens every single time. So absorb the information, take it on, but don't take it as gospel. Don't take it as gospel. It's really, really important. Now, in terms of marketing and stuff like that, again, I'm going to encourage you to be present and to do the marketing and things of that nature after the fact. I think it's more powerful, personally. And one of the things I would market, though, is the access to the value that you're receiving in a completely complementary fashion. So to give you an example, day one speakers, you're going to hear on Kathy's leadership panel, Kathy Coover, you're going to hear from Susan Sly, Lindsay Hofborough, and I hate to report this to you because I know you're all sick of me because you hear me all the time. I'm going to be on the panel too. So remove me from the equation. But then also Emily Vavra is the 2.0 keynote speaker as well. If Lindsay and Emily and Susan and Kathy Coover and I, if the 5 of us, carry the one, okay, 5 of us were to get together and we were to do a one-day training event, type in the chat box, how much do you think that we would be able to charge for that one-day event? Okay, so think about it. So Susan Sly, even remove me. Susan Sly, Emily Vavra, Kathy Coover, Lindsay Hopper, just remove me from the equation, okay? A lot of money for a single day training. And you have access to it in a complimentary way. So sometimes when we don't have skin in the game, we're more likely to not value what's being presented to us, okay? So I want you to imagine that you've invested whatever number you just put into the chat box or whatever number came up into your mind. I want you to imagine that that's how much you invested into being at this live virtual event, okay? I want you to imagine that with everything that you do so that you're present, so that you're grounded, so that you're focused, so that you're intentional, and so that you can link what you're learning with your desired outcome, okay? Type in the chat box, so far so good? I'm just take a sip of water, make sure I have my notes, make sure I knocked on everything I wanted to so far. Got that. Okay, so speaking of being present and being grounded, I would absolutely encourage you, the same way I would as if this was a in-person event. 2020 has been an extremely unique season in all of our lives. There is a lot happening. There's a lot of emotions to process. There's a lot of things that might be going on behind closed doors in your personal lives, in your job lives, in your spiritual lives. There's any number of things that we're currently being inundated with. The question I want you to ask yourself is, how can I leave whatever baggage I have outside of the room? How can I compartmentalize for a day and a half so I can be fully focused, trusting that the information that's going to be provided to me has the ability to exponentially expand my growth rapidly? How can I put myself in a position to do that? Am I willing to paperclip any drama that I have going on in my life? Am I willing to paperclip anything that I might be hooked into in the outside world? Am I willing to paperclip any kind of internal and or external battles that I might be fighting just so I can be fully present. Now, the other thing I want you to remember is this, and we talk about this all the time for live events as well. Even though this is virtual, I also want you to imagine that your team can observe your behavior during the live event. And would you want your team to see how you're behaving during the event? Because what do we know? We know that everything duplicates. So if I had a camera that could look into your home, right? And you have it on in the background, but over here, you're kind of like on your phone, hanging out. Maybe you got a video game going on over here. You got your computer going on over here. You're not really listening, and your team can see that. Is that the message you'd want to send to your team? But now I want you to think even bigger than that. What if your prospects can see how you choose to show up? Who you're inviting in to participate inside of Isagenix with you, the people who you're asking to trust you, the people who you want to have the ability to partner with and lead. If they could see your behavior and your attitude, regardless of what's going on over the day and a half period, what would you want them to see? How many of you, type in the chat box, how many of you are willing to get behind that level of accountability? The level of accountability that says my prospects and my team are watching everything that I do, even though they're not here with me. And I know that a lot of you are going to say, Zach, that's just BS. There's no way that's true. Guess what? They can't physically see it, but energetically and unconsciously, they know. They know. So how do I want to show up? How do I want to show up if the entire world was watching me in terms of how I show up for this event? Now, I'm going to leave you with one last thing, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Events can be very exciting. They can be really exhilarating. It can be very easy to see Eric Coover get on screen, or Susan Sly get on screen, or Emily Baver get on screen and say, all right, set your goal for the next 90 days. And what do? We rush to set absolutely absurd goals. And we get really hyped up. And then within about a week or 2 weeks, what happens? Life starts to happen. Some of that baggage starts to come in. Some of the drama starts to flow in. And all of a sudden, that big goal that we set seems to feel very, very, very what? Far away. And what do? We shrink. And why do we shrink? Because it feels like it's too much of an effort. And what were we even thinking in the first place? So what I want you to maintain at all times, if it resonates with you, cool. If it doesn't, that's okay. Is something that a lot of you hear me say all the time, but I'm going to say it again. Ready? High lows. Bless you, Marissa. High lows. Go ahead. One more. Get it out. One more. Just one? I do like 3. Okay. High lows, low highs. High lows, low highs. So no matter what you see happening on screen, do your best to stay grounded. Set goals that are realistic, but also force you to stretch just a little bit. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you're watching Celebration, right? Stretchy but attainable. Like, let's say you're watching Celebration. They say, set your goals. And you say, I'm going 3-star in the next 90 days. But you've only currently are cycling once a week. That's not a goal that sets you up for success. Now you can say, I'm going 3-star by the end of the year. My intention long-term is to create a 6-figure income, but I'm going to set a more attainable goal. And why are attainable goals important? Because in my experience, goals and goal achievement is built on belief. If we believe we can achieve a goal, we're 10 times more likely to achieve it. And if right now you're only cycling 1 time a week, which is phenomenal, it's great, we love that for you, bump it up. Gosh, you know what? By the 90 days, by the time that ends, I would love to be a solid paid as 1-star, cycling anywhere from 10 to 19 times a week. That would change my life. That would change my life. And thank you for that, MC. You have a typo. Your finger probably meant to hit 4. 40 cycles a week is 3-star. You probably just 3 is in 4 right next to you. I have fat fingers, so I do that all the time. But thank you for that for sure. So again, a goal that feels attainable, but it's also going to stretch you. Okay, a goal that feels attainable, but is also going to stretch you. And then here's the last thing that I know. you're going to hear some great inspiration, some great words, some great stories, some great speakers, about some incredible new products. You're going to hear about the brand positioning of where we're going as a company, what our new identity is going to evolve into. You're going to hear so many things that get your heart pumping, and the adrenaline in your system is going to be burning and churning, and you're going to be feeling it in a whole new way. You're going to be feeling so many different emotions, which is epic, and you deserve to, and it's exciting, and it's fun, and stay grounded in your approach. Take a measured approach to how you come out of this event as well. It's going to be really easy to want to get online and like spam out all the new things, this, that, and the other. But don't sacrifice the principles. Don't sacrifice principles for short-term gain. Don't sacrifice your principles because you get caught up in the hype. And remember the most important part. You can get excited, you can take a million notes, you can sit with all your water set up, grounded, focused, no distractions. You can take notes perfectly. You can stop and absorb the information. But at the end of the day, all of the information is meaningless if we don't do what? Type in the chat box. All of the information is meaningless if we don't do what? Take action. If we don't take action, if we don't apply it, we learn nothing, right? Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. And again, you're going to have access Friday and Saturday. You're going to have access to people who are going to supply you with exceptional amounts of knowledge. And then here's the other thing I want you to do. You're going to see people on stage. You're going to hear stories. And what I know for sure is going to start to happen, oh my God, look at Emily Vavra. I could never, just look at her. She's so well polished, and she has such expensive clothes, and she's so well spoken, and she's so powerful. What I want you to remember is that Emily Vavra was sleeping in her car when she called Isagenix into her life. And you're going to say, but look at Susan Sly. She's so powerful. She knows NLP. She's a world-class speaker. She's so eloquent. She has multiple businesses. She's a multi-millionaire. I could never do what she's doing. But what I want you to remember is that Susan Sly was a broke personal trainer whose first office was a little closet in her kid's room that she turned into a little office. You're going to hear from Kathy Coover, who was a dental hygienist. Don't forget that. Don't forget that Eric Coover has grown into the person you see. But Eric Coover was one of the most introverted, shy, and goofy kids you would have ever met in your life had you known him at that time. When you see the breakout speakers speaking, and you start to tell yourself a story, don't forget that they also, at one point in their careers, told themselves a similar story. Make no mistake, don't you think for a second that there weren't times in my life where I'd see people on stage early in my career and go, I don't know if I can do this. And when that voice comes into your head, just stop and observe it. And ask yourself the question, is it true? And guess what? You're going to come up with, of course it's not true. And why is it not true? Because if they can overcome their fears, and they can overcome their doubts, and they can overcome their limiting beliefs, then why can't I? And that's the question I want you to ask from now on. Why not you? Why not you? And it might not be in a year or 2 or 5. It might take you 10, but is your freedom worth 10 years? I think so. I think so. And yes, it'll be recorded. Yes, it'll be recorded. Why not you? Why can't it be you on stage? Why can't it be you traveling whenever you want to be? Why not you? What's different about you? The only difference from the people you will see speaking life into you on Friday and Saturday is that we, and in this regard, I have to include myself, we just were willing to fail faster. So again, when you come up against it, and when that voice starts to chatter, I want you to remember that you have a purpose that's bigger than your problems. And I want you to remember that your destiny, should you choose, is bigger and greater than your doubts. So unless there aren't any questions that I can answer for you, I'm gonna let you all go. I'll pop in the team page. What did you learn? I'm so excited for all of you that are gonna be experiencing your first introduction to our corporate team and the vision of this company and who we are and where we're going. And make no mistake, I speak for Eden and I both in saying that we are honored, grateful, and blessed to have every single one of you aligned with us as we move forward in our vision of impacting more and more people through the incredible vehicle that is Isagenix. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you guys soon.